Hi there and thanks for joining us. We're often asked for advice and tips on pigeon shooting from novices and beginners, and we're just producing a series of short videos just to give you a little bit of advice and guidance and some pointers. And we're going to start off today in this first video by looking and discussing decoys. Now, if you go on at social media, there's a lot of hype about decoys at the moment, and there's people out there telling you that decoy A and flapper B and magnet C are the best that you will get, and that they will tell you that these devices and these decoys will all but guarantee that you will shoot pigeons, and that's absolutely not the case. The unfortunate thing is when you look at most of these social media sites and the people making these comments, the people who either have a financial interest in you buying these products, or they're quite often people who are endorsing these products simply because they're getting freebies. So it's really difficult to pick through what's out there on social media and get good advice. Let me tell you now, in terms of decoying, the best decoys are the decoys that are placed where the pigeons want to be, and that's a plain fact. If you've got your decoys and if you're set up where the pigeons want to be, the likelihood is you're going to shoot pigeons, and it doesn't matter, to a large extent what your pigeons are, your decoys are like. So the main thing is get yourself where the birds want to be. So I suppose the next question, how do you get where the birds want to be? Well, that's about reconnaissance. You need to spend time on the road. You need to have a pair of these in your vehicle, a pair of binoculars. They're more important than any decoy that you're going to buy. You need to spend time on the road and you need to observe. Scouting and finding your pigeons is all part of the excitement and part of the build-up. So you need to get yourself out there and go around your farms. You'll have an idea, having spoken to your farmers, of when crops are going to go in, so you know when you need to be looking at the fields. Get round there. And the other thing that I'd say is, people will often say it's really difficult even getting permission to shoot. The easiest way that we found to get permission to shoot is, again, to get out there when you have nothing else to do and you look for pigeons, and you see pigeons on a field and you go and knock on the door. You say to the farmer, I don't know if you realise, but there's been 500 pigeons on your bean field over there, and they've been there for a week now. Would you like me to have a go and shoot them for you and try and move them on off your farm? And the reception you get when you can go to a farmer and actually pinpoint a problem for him is better than speculatively going and knocking on doors. People will drive around farms, will just knock on doors and say and ask if they have any pigeon shooting available. Well, you're not giving the farmer a reason. If you can go and say there's pigeons there, can I shoot them? Quite often you'll get a good response, and we find that more often than not we do get a good response. So what you need to take with you is, we have a flyer with us, map with us, notebook, so we can get the farmer's details, pen, shotgun certificate, Basque insurance if you're a member of Basque. And what we do as well before we set off is we go on Bing Maps and we print off maps for the areas we're going to look at, and then we can actually mark the fields on. When the farmer says yeah you can go on there, we can actually mark the fields on. So moving on, and assuming you have got somewhere to shoot, you know which field you're going to shoot, you know you've got pigeons on that field, then what you've got to do is sit there and observe it, and just work out where your flight lines are over the field, which part of the field the pigeons are feeding on. Maybe go and have a walk on the field, and have a look and just see where there's either crop damage, where the pigeons have been sat, where they've been sat in city trees on the field. You'll see pigeon muck and feathers underneath. Have a look to see where grain's scattered, and then get your ideas of where you're going to set up. You can look as well on the map, look on Bing Maps. On Bing Maps you can get like an earth image from above, and you can have a look and see where the trees are and hedges are. You can get yourself an idea where it might be suitable to set up, where footpaths are, where roads are, where houses are, because we've got to accept that everybody can't scout in advance. Sometimes you're going to get there on the morning and you might spend 20 minutes looking before you actually set up and observing where your pigeons are going to be. That's where a good farmer is also going to come into play, because you can speak to your farmers in advance and try and find out which fields your birds are on. But before you actually set up, you need to spend some time there, sat at the field with a pair of binoculars, and have a look to see where the birds are feeding and where the flight lines are. So you're at your field, you know, and you're going to set up, so what decoys do you actually need? Well, your best decoys are these. You know, you cannot beat a dead bird. Obviously getting your first dead birds isn't necessarily that simple, but I would get out there and I'd get yourself half a dozen shot at some stage and then store them in your freezer. We have a spare freezer. You can pick up spare freezers. If you look on these Facebook local community groups, there's always freezers and fridges on there that people are either giving away. You can pick them up for a negligible cost. So get one of those in your utility room or your garage, and just keep yourself, always have half a dozen dead pigeons in there so that you're ready to roll. If you haven't got any pigeons to start with, you know, you can put something on these local pigeon shooting groups, and shooting groups, people will often give away half a dozen pigeons to get you started, and we certainly would. If you send us a message, we'll certainly give you half a dozen free pigeons if you want to come round and collect them and get yourself started. So that's your most important decoy. Now I'm going to show you what we've got in our decoy bag over here, and this is what we use. We just use about 18 to 24 of these things, if I can get them out of Sam's decoy bag. We just use simple shells, you know, inexpensive. Sam's are flock coated, mine aren't, and mine are repainted. I repainted mine by hand this year with spray cans rather, and I sprayed them. Just got matte grey primer. I got some matte black, some matte white, and some matte REF blue in spray cans, and I really did my decoys like that this year. The other thing that we use with these decoys, with these shells, is we use some spring motion stakes, which Sam will have in the top of his rucksack here. So we'll use a little spring motion stake like these. You can pick up, they're inexpensive to buy. We're using the jack pike ones, and what they'll basically do is in the wind they'll just give your decoy some movement, and that means with that bit of movement it attracts the bird's eyes from further away. You maybe see on these as well, I've just redone the white on those just to make them stand out a little bit. So also in this bag, Sam's got dead bird cradles. So what will happen here is, once he's shot his first few birds, he'll stick his dead birds onto these cradles, and then after that he'll end up putting a few on the ground as well. Dead bird cradles are pretty essential. Flapper, we use a flapper or we use a mojo. Not essential though. Your essential really is your shells that you've got there, and also your magnet. I would say your magnet's one of your essentials. Flapper's probably a luxury. Watch out when you get these flappers. This is an A1 Decoys flapper. It costs us a little bit more than most of those that are out there on the internet. But it works very, very well, and it's been reliable. We found that the cheaper ones that we were buying in the first instance were lasting us a month. We were going through a ridiculous number before we gave up on them, and then we've moved on to the A1 flap, which comes with 12, I think it's 2-year guarantee actually, and that does the job perfectly well. There are other flappers out there that are more expensive, which I've heard mixed reviews about. I've heard people saying that there's too many moving parts and reliability issues with them. The other thing that we have in here is we have our pigeon magnet, which is a heavy duty pigeon magnet, and you'll maybe notice that we've taped it up in camouflage as well, just to take the shine off it, and in particular the arms of the magnet are taped up as well with a cloth tape. Because if you are out on a sunny day, you will clearly see from a distance the arms go flash, 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 flash as they go around, and that's a great warning to any incoming pigeon. The other thing that we'll have in the decoy bag, 12 volt 7 amp hour batteries, and we carry 3 of those with us. We carry 1 for the magnet, 1 for the flapper, and a spare. And that'll do us for the day, unless it's really, really windy. You can burn batteries up quite quickly on a windy day, so you need to watch out for that. So that's what we have in our decoy bag. I don't think he's got anything else in there that's of any importance. I'm just having a look. And in terms of the bag, great bags, Old British Army Bergen. So in that British Army Bergen, Sammy's going to get a magnet, dead bird cradles, 18 to 24 shell pigeons, flapper, and I don't know if I said 3 batteries, and his dead birds are all going to fit in his Bergen. So that's what we have in there in our what I would call our essential kit. You could get started up, you know, if you look on eBay or on those Facebook groups, there's always people giving pigeon decoys away for next to nothing. So you'll pick shell pigeons up, you know, very, very cheaply. If they look awful, you can repaint them. That doesn't cost much. It's quite enjoyable, and it's very satisfying when you shoot pigeons over a decoy that you've painted up yourself, and it's not difficult. Magnet that we've got here, 50 quid. You know, your decoys there, let's say 20 quid, so that's 70 quid. Dead bird cradles, you need your dead bird cradles, so that gets you up to about 90 quid. So it's not a lot of money really, is it, to get started? You know, that's less than you'll pay for some of these fancy decoys that are out there that you know, aren't going to do the job if you're not set. Another little tip, mentioned dead bird cradles. If you don't want to go to the expensive dead bird cradles to get you started, then traditionally, I mean, what we used to do is get your pigeon and just break yourself a stick, or you could even take some with you, just a little stick, V-shaped at the top. Get your decoy or your dead bird, and what you'll do is just prop his neck up and then use him as a decoy like that and stick that peg into the ground. So that's a nice, straightforward, simple and easy way to set up a dead bird. Yeah. The other thing you can do is either take some canes with you. This isn't a particularly long one, it's just one I've just dragged out of the garden there, so lass hasn't missed it. And what you would do with that is ram it up your pigeon's backside, making sure your pigeon's dead, of course, first, and it'll go up and through his head. So I'll just show you. So that's going to go right up inside him and into his head. Yeah, and that's him set up. Now you could then prop him in the ground and use him as a decoy. So what you could also do here is take another stick and put it across the wings. So spread the wings out, and you can then put him and get him into a flying position by holding his wings out. So just split that stick at each end and just put it through his body there and out, and you'll basically end up getting him like that, and you could use that as a flying decoy. What I tend to do with these when I put them out on the stick is if it's a windy day like today, I break the wings as well close to the body. By breaking the wings close to the body, placing him into the wind, then his wings are going to flap, and that just gives you a little bit of movement as well. So that's an inexpensive way of creating a flying pigeon. Other bits that we're going to carry with us, we're going to always carry floaters with us. So these are floater poles in here. I don't know if you can see that, but these are floater poles. So these are a long extending pole that will take a pigeon with his wings open. So the pigeon will be on there with his wings open, placed into the wing, and the pigeon on this extending pole here will float up and down. Now how we tend to use our floaters is we use 2 of those, and the poles fit into our decoy, into our hide pole bag. We use 2 of those. So what we'll usually have in our spread is we'll have our shell decoys, which will be in, if you think of something like a Nike tick, so there'll be a Nike tick sort of shape, roughly facing into the wind. Don't have them regimentally facing into the wind, kind of roughly into the wind. In the back of that Nike tick we'll have our magnet, but slightly to the side, just so that the birds have plenty of room to land in. And then back from the decoy, so downwind at maybe about 50 yards, we'll have 1 bouncer, and then another 20 or 30 yards beyond him we have a 2nd bouncer. And the idea there is I regard the bouncer or floaters, whatever you want to call them, I regard those as signposting. So they're signposting with decoy spread. Look, the decoys are over there, and they're pointing and leading the way into the pigeons. A couple of other bits of kit that we sometimes carry with us, just depends on the circumstances, decoy lofting hooks and lofting poles. The idea there is it's an extending pole which have a fitting on the end of it which takes a full-bodied pigeon decoy, and you can hook those up and into a tree and sometimes we've got a really nice city tree. We'll take half a dozen pigeons decoys to put up in the tree using the lofting hooks and the lofting poles, because obviously they're seen from a great distance. You know, when you're driving around looking for pigeons, that's how you'll often see your pigeons, because they're sat in trees. So that's something, but I mean, I would say that that's a luxury. Your essentials really, your binoculars, I would say your magnets, some people would argue, batteries, some dead birds, a bag, and a few shells, and the rest of it beyond that really is a luxury. Key, as we're saying, be where the birds want to be. That's the key. You know. So thanks for joining us there, and I hope you found some useful bits of information in there. You know, we're going to be producing a few more videos, and we'll cover issues like your decoy setup, guns, ammunition, the other equipment that you might need, and also we'll give you a bit of advice now to go and get permission from farmers to shoot. If you've got any questions in the meantime, you know, we'd welcome those, and you can contact us either through our website www.sportsandsporting.co.uk. Just then use the contact button and we'll get a message from you, or check us on Facebook. I mean, we've got one or two sites. We've got Pennine Pest Control, we've got Stop Green Shoot, and we've got Sports and Sporting. So those are our various Facebook pages. We've also got a Facebook group as well, Shooting Sports Fur and Feather. If you want to join that, a friendly bunch, and happy to share information on there and help you out. So look forward to you joining us again in future, and good shooting.